No doubt that this vote is a vote against everything that has happened to Jammu and Kashmir, directly governed by through its hand-picked representatives here. The fact that the intelligence agencies of the police and the laws at their disposal were weaponized to harass people, to arrest them, detain them, to withhold their passports and things like that. This is a vote against all that and so much more.
Now you've got one of the biggest challenges. You have faced a lot of challenges in your life and done remarkably well. I think I did tweet once 20 years ago that Omar for PM. Actually, I also tweeted Dhoni for PM. But you do have a difficult task ahead. The people want jobs, they want development, they want better roads on the one hand. That's the pressure on you. On the other hand, the central government, the BJP, wants to regain Kashmir. And they're going to put a lot of pressure on you. How are you going to balance these two?
Well, there's no doubt that it's going to be sort of difficult coming up to people's expectations, because the expectations are high. People haven't had an elected government since 2018. That said, we have been honest with the people in terms of the difficulties that we're going to face, particularly initially, given that we are a union territory and not a full-fledged state. That said, I believe that the incoming government, the incoming Chief Minister, has a responsibility to establish a good working relationship with the union government. I don't think an antagonistic relationship is in the interest either of the incoming state government or the union government. Jammu and Kashmir is not like any other part of the country. Our challenges are more, the difficulties we face, particularly because of our neighborhood, are more, and therefore I think that the BJP would be sort of well advised to put aside the usual way in which they handle opposition territories and look at Jammu and Kashmir as a way perhaps to rewrite the book and actually commit itself to sort of re-energize federalism in the country. And we have some sort of cooperative and meaningful understanding relationship between Jammu and Kashmir and the government of India.
Right, exactly.
If I may ask a question as well. Omar, hi, this is Maya Mirchandani from the Decoder Studios in Delhi. First of all, congratulations on winning both Ganderbal and Budgam. I'd like to ask you, how in your elected assembly and the government that you hope to form, you're going to be able to balance the question and the issues around representation for Jammu, given the way the elections have stacked up and the results have stacked up today?
Look, that obviously is going to be a challenge for the incoming government. And I think the Chief Minister, once elected, to come into being in the next few days, is going to be as much as a government for the people who voted for the BJP, as it is going to be a government for the people who voted for the National Conference or the Congress. And I think that is something that the incoming government will have to very quickly move into Jammu and convince people of. We don't have another election of this nature in Jammu and Kashmir for the next 5 years, hopefully. Parliament is 4.5 years away. And therefore, I think if we were to start running a government on partisan or party political lines from day one, it would be a huge injustice to the people of Jammu and Kashmir. And therefore, regardless of how Jammu has voted, they have a right to a government. They have a right to a government that looks at their problems and works to solve them. And I hope that this will be that government.
You started by saying the next Chief Minister will have to do this and that, but you were speaking to the next Chief Minister.
We are speaking.
And he was also speaking to him.
Well, you know how these things are, as in the legislative party has to meet, it has to elect its leader, then the alliance has to choose its leader. So I'm not presuming anything. let's wait and see what happens.
The people have spoken and the people have made you. But let me ask you one more thing. There's been a certain amount of calm in Kashmir. Tourism has gone up, shops remain open. But everybody we've spoken to, they say this has happened really because it's more like a police state. Army all over the streets, there's these troops everywhere. So that is a kind of false calm. Will the army remain on the streets or will they be removed? And is the calm because of the troops really?
Look, at the moment this is not a matter that the incoming state government will be able to decide on, because we are a union territory. Security, law and order, these are all matters that the Lieutenant Governor is vested with. That said, I hope that we can move away from this belief that Jammu and Kashmir is calm because it's an enforced calm. I hope the incoming government is able to make people a partner in this peace. That people feel that this calm, this peace is actually to their advantage and that it comes from within and not through the barrel of a gun.
Omar, if I can just jump in very quickly, I know you said that it's in everybody's interest, the centre's and the state's interest to work together with the new elected government. But are you concerned about issues like a return to statehood, the question of domicile laws, and even the question of the expanded powers of the Lieutenant Governor? You've heard a lot of people today after the results worry about, another Delhi-like situation possibly for Jammu and Kashmir. I know it's early and today is a night for celebration for you, but there's also all this in the background, I'm sure.
No, I mean, obviously these celebrations are tinged with a huge dose of reality, and the reality is we are a union territory, and this is in itself a new experience for us in Jammu and Kashmir. This is the first time we'll have an elected government in this union territory. But more importantly, look, it's not for nothing that we say the Honourable Prime Minister. I would like to believe that he is an honourable man. And when he says that Jammu and Kashmir will be given statehood, he means it. I don't recall a single speech of the Honourable Prime Ministers or the Honourable Home Minister or any other senior minister in the Government of India saying that Jammu and Kashmir will only get statehood if the BJP is elected to power, or Jammu and Kashmir will only get statehood if the BJP is a part of the government in Jammu and Kashmir. The Honourable Prime Minister said that Jammu and Kashmir will get statehood after the elections. The elections are over, the people have spoken. I think this is the most appropriate time for the Government of India to say, well, okay, well done, people of Jammu and Kashmir. You came out, you participated in large numbers, you have reinforced your commitment to democracy, and here is your state, and run it in the best interest of the people of Jammu and Kashmir.
Mr. Abdullah, this is Dorab Sapariwala from the studio. My question is that in the last 30 or 40 years, there's rarely been a time when the BJP has been in government. Now BJP is a strong party in Jammu. If a party does never have a chance of being in government, despite the fact the government is a good government, does it not in fact alienate people? I mean, democracy means some amount of possibility of my being in government. If I see no possibility of being in government, does that cause a kind of dissonance that weakens our democracy?
Look, we run a first-past-the-post system. This is a parliamentary system of democracy. The majority make up the government. Now, you can't punish the people of Jammu and Kashmir simply because the BJP can't make the numbers. Look, they haven't made the numbers this time. But then who knows what the future will bring for them. But
they're not even in a coalition most of the time.
Creating a hostile relationship, right? Sorry, there's a time lag. That's why I ended up interrupting you. No, please go ahead.
There is a time lag. Yes. So, Omar, I think the way you've spoken, it's clearly that people have a lot of faith in you, and what you're saying is really coming from your heart. Of course, it's going to be difficult to implement. you know, the turnout you were mentioning, turnout was high, there was enthusiasm, there's a lot of hope. It's going to be difficult to meet, you, as you mentioned, the voters' expectations. Does that worry you? Because how are you going to ensure investment into Kashmir? How are you going to ensure tourism carries on? All these factors that meet the people's new expectations with you as Chief Minister and your party in power.
Look, we will do the absolute best that we can. We will do everything possible to make sure Jammu and Kashmir remains peaceful, Jammu and Kashmir remains calm, and Jammu and Kashmir starts enjoying the benefits of having a representative government, a government in which their voice is heard, a government in which they feel they are participating. And we hope that the people of Jammu and Kashmir will also at the same time understand that they've given us a mandate for 5 years, not 5 days, 5 weeks or 5 months, for 5 years. And at the end of those 5 years, we'll go back to the people with our report card. And we hope that there will be more pluses than minuses.
Right, Omar Abdullah, many congratulations. I know there's a lot of pressure. Everybody wants to talk to you, and we're just so happy and honored that you've spoken to us. And again, congratulations to you. But I want to remind you one thing in life. It is not who you are, it is whose you are. Just remember that. So congratulations to your father.
Thank you I will remember that. Thank you very much. I'll pass those on to him. Thanks a lot, Dr. Roy.
And Omar, just very quickly on that note, I think your grandmother had given an interview before she passed away where she said that she saw in you Sheikh Abdullah. Now, I don't know if this is true or it's going to bear itself out in the future, but she definitely saw you having sort of the framework of Sheikh Abdullah, and I mean, all good luck to you.
Basically, nothing to do with you, it's all your genes.
It's all your genes.
Yeah. You know, Maya, I have enough pressure on me at the moment without having to try and fill shoes that I am absolutely not geared up to fill.
All right.
No, we are saying it's whose you are, so you can blame it on them. All your ancestors, you're a wrong gene, you know.
Yeah.
All the right things are yours, all the wrong things are your genes. God bless you. Thank you very much for being with us. Thank you and congratulations.
I can live with that.
Thank you.
All the best, yeah.
Well,
very interesting, and I mean, I actually did want to ask him about what he did make of, you know, at the end of the day, the Congress leaders are right now projecting this as a great India win, but the disappointment over perhaps that campaign of the Congress in Jammu, which could have been much better, and the entry of Aam Aadmi Party on the one seat is something I actually wanted.
Very difficult election.
Yeah.
Let's be very clear, the army had its candidates, the RAW had its candidates. For the NCP, the National Conference, to have done what they've done, they've shown India how to fight an election. This is just spectacular.
right,
Absolutely.
under the toughest circumstances.
Sure, and maybe the credit goes to the people of the
Yes,
valley as well,
yes.
who wanted to vote one way, unlike the Lok Sabha where they voted for Engineer Rashid. But you know, in the valley, tell me if you agree with me, the NC was very generous in giving the Congress 6 seats, which they have won. In the Jammu division, Congress has won all of 1 seat out of 32.
And I think that
strike rate has been very poor, I mean, compared to the seats that they've fought on.
That's right, and I think that's been an
The
issue.
division is a BJP loss, which we will never discuss. Ram Madhav and Tarun Chugh fought, and ultimately they used to bring 150 and 100 people to the rallies, which questions will never come to the table. So, you know,
Except by you. That's which you started
no, in the
already.
Congress we want to understand, let's blame this one, let's blame that one. What were these people, on 370 in Jammu, the BJP should have had a clear sweep. They should have made the first Hindu chief minister of Naya J&K.
So,
What happened to
Amitabh,
that?
is this a huge setback for 370 and their entire strategy in Kashmir?
Look,
And will they learn from it?
by they you mean the BJP?
Yeah.
So the BJP's performance is actually more or less on par with 2014. It's not an improvement given the fact that the seats went up. So they maintain their position, which is of course good for them.
and not good for us, in Jammu at least.
Right.
But there isn't any big change, given the dramatic changes as we were talking about 370 and the claims about transforming the state and all of that. So in that sense, it's not such an amazing performance. I would say that we shouldn't be too harsh on the Congress on the Kashmir performance. Firstly, we did win seats there. And secondly, I think the impact of the Bharat Jodo Yatra has also helped the NC. I mean, this is quite a sweep by any historical standard. So I would say that it is a combination. So I think we should be fair over there.
Yeah, and I also think, Prannoy, what we were discussing in the morning, the idea that anybody, any independent, any small party, any mainstream party, which in the valley was associated with the BJP in any which way, was seen as a taint on them. Right. And I think the people were very clear in the valley about making sure that they kept the BJP out of making any gains in the valley. And I think, the results are evident. So the National Conference, interestingly, I see this as a resurrection of the National Conference. I mean, it was really even in the 2008 election, Omar Abdullah was Chief Minister, but with a tremendous amount of support from the Congress at that time. In fact, there was talk of also rotating Chief Ministers.
Right.
The PDP they routed them in 2014. 2002 was a rout. So, I mean, this result particularly, I agree with what Manisha is saying, is in a sense a resurrection of Kashmir's grand old party. Right. So there is a legacy that the National Conference has that was very intrinsically tied to the history of Kashmir.
But I must ask you all of you, one very serious question. What does it feel like if we just took a long shot, sitting in the middle of the Dal Lake,
floating on this
floating a bit,
very gentle.
You feel gentle. It's very
It's very nice, except that by 7 they ask you to rush back to your hotel. And you suddenly say, oh wow, I just want to get out.
We're sitting on the Dal Lake right now.
Try a cup of coffee.
Or kawa.
Yeah, kawa is even better.
On this Aam Aadmi Party's entry into Jammu, is this like a one-off thing happening, sir, or do you see it now picking up, actually moving forward?
Wherever they can, in Haryana they've
Probably
done
the candidates,
nothing.
local candidates.
It's a local candidate.
In Haryana they've cost
Let's
Congress
get to a
2
bit
seats.
of, I hate to say it, put you to sleep, a bit of psephology. Just analyze the election results so far. Let's start with Haryana. I don't know, we have a set of graphics which does a bit of analysis. So now this is the interesting part. Haryana votes versus seats disconnect. BJP had a narrow win in votes, but a large win in seats. If you look at BJP, it got 39.9% of the votes. The Congress got 39.3%. That's a lead of 0.6%. But they had an 11-seat advantage. That's 30% more seats. So 0.6% vote, even by psephological standards, to give you 30% increase in seats is most unusual. It's a very lucky twist for the BJP. There are a few other interesting benefits from the system. Wonderful British inherited first past the post. There was a twist in votes. The Congress won its seats with a much higher percentage votes than the BJP. On average, whenever they won a seat, they won it by 49%, and actually 49 point something, and the BJP won their seats with only 48. There's 47 point something. So you think, who's the winner? Clearly Congress, but no, BJP, because it won by narrow margin, but it won. It was lucky to have many seats. It won by narrow margins with a low percentage vote. Moving on to a couple of other, the Congress loses in a strange skew of votes versus, no, one second, are we doing this one or the earlier one? Okay, we'll go with this. Between 2019 Lok Sabha and 2024 Lok Sabha, there was a decline, a swing against the BJP in Haryana of 12%, 11.9. Since 2024, they have not done better. The swing is worse than in the 2024 Lok Sabha election. Another minus 6.2. So they are minus 18% since 2019 Lok Sabha. many people feel, okay, they got 5-5 in the Lok Sabha, 5 seats each with the Congress, and now they've got a majority. But actually the votes went down. There was a swing away from the BJP in the Lok Sabha. And there was one further one, the Congress loses in a strange skew again of votes versus seat. In the central area, just look at that. Congress votes were 5% above the BJP. But if you look to the right, they got only 20 seats each. No lead. 5% higher votes in those 40 seats, but the seats split evenly, 20-20. In the other parts of Haryana, north and south, the BJP had 5% above the Congress, but the BJP got many more seats than the Congress, 28-17. So 2020 in the central, despite a 5% higher vote for the Congress, but when the BJP got a higher vote than the Congress, it got 28-11. First past the post. The only thing worse than first past the post is the American Electoral College was. Now let's move on to Jammu and Kashmir. Sorry, if you don't fall asleep, this is what we spend our life doing, you know, these sort of...
We have a different take on this, as you know, we can get into that.
I think we'll skip that. No, we certainly will have after this. The National Congress and the Congress votes fell sharply in 2024 versus the 10 years earlier. NC Congress down 12% in Jammu. 12%, that's a huge drop. 3% went to the BJP and 9% to others. So the Congress NC were harmed a lot by others eating. Other parties' votes went up sharply, and independents. So smaller parties ate into the Congress and NC vote in Jammu. Moving on to another in Kashmir, the PDP votes absolutely plummeted. If you look at the last assembly versus this one, the PDP vote went down 14%. And that was 12% went to others, again smaller parties. Even in the Kashmir Valley, other smaller parties did well. 3% went to the BJP and 1% down to the Congress. So 12 plus 3, 15, and down 1% to the Congress and NC. So that 14 is quite almost an obliteration of a party, dropping so much. But things happen in politics, you can always bounce back. Finally, Dorab, do defectors win?
Well, not too often. BJP, 19 people left the BJP, 9 of them won and 10 of them lost. So it's a 50-50 rate. But the Congress defectors had a terrible time. Out of 24 who defected, just 6 won and 18 lost. JGP, of course, like the party itself, but they were defecting or staying in the party, you lost. You know, the Deputy Chief Minister of Haryana, Haryana, Mr. Dushyant Chautala, came 5th. And the total number of votes cast in that seat was 150,000, and he got 7,000.
Wow.
And the seat was won by 32 votes by the BJP. Congress's Bijender Singh lost by 32 votes, but that's the story of one's life.
So the thing is that the BJP and the JJP were together in government. The brunt of anti-incumbency, however, was borne by the Deputy Chief Minister. So that's new theory.
No, the smaller party always sort of, I think,
no,
bears
the
the
Chief
brunt for
Ministers
having
come
tied
out
up with the...
clean, and the Deputy Chief Minister bears the brunt of anti-incumbency.
No, that's because he was a Jat party and it was a betrayal of the Jat sentiment with anti-BJP for him to do a post-poor alliance with the BJP. In last Haryana Assembly election, the JJP campaigned against BJP and then went and allied with them. So that is why you see the obliteration of the JJP.
I would like to ask you, of these defectors from BJP, the ones who have won, did they win as independents or did they win as Congress?
No, the win is independence.
Independent, yeah. Because in Congress also, I think it's interesting to see that Bhavani Khera seat where...
There are only 90 seats, so how many defectors can you accommodate?
Yeah, true.
You know, most of them are independents.
Sorry? Tarigami wins, you know,
That's
almost everybody had been
Yeah.
telling me that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So one interesting point about Haryana is the Congress vote share is actually been rising election after election, and it's quite good now. It's only 1% behind BJP, right? Congress.
I mean, the last election it did abysmally.
Last election they had 28% vote share. 2014 they had 20% vote share.
Yeah.
This time they had 39% vote share, and they should have had a chance at winning. Except that the bipolarity we were discussing in the morning has also benefited BJP. In this election in Haryana, both BJP and Congress have increased their vote share over the previous Vidhan Sabha election. Right? You are comparing with Lok Sabha, but if you compare with the previous Vidhan Sabha election, both have increased their vote share. But the BJP has benefited by taking away the vote share of the small parties and the independents more than the Congress has. Secondly, this 39% vote share of the Congress also suggests that the Congress has not been able to get the OBC votes. The anti-Jat coalition, as it were, has held.
That's actually also worked for Nayab Singh Saini. That's coming for
earlier we heard it was not the Dalits, now we're hearing on the OBCs.
Well,
we need data.
Well, but the BJP is holding on to its vote share. We know BJP last two elections they have.
You were saying you have a different interpretation. You've got 10 seconds for that.
Might take slightly longer than that.
Okay, 2 seconds.
You yourself said lucky twist, strange twist, that the vote shares are so closely poised, and yet the BJP wins disproportionately. And of course, we've also discussed through the day how the ground sentiment, the reading of everyone on the ground sentiment was very different. And we have found some disturbing discrepancies in certain constituencies in the counting in the machines.
This is in Haryana?
In Haryana. Yeah, so 10 to 12 seats. We've had our candidates complain about the counting process. So we've collected the data, we have recorded it, and we are going to approach the Election Commission in the next day or two. And in a nutshell, one issue we found is that EVMs that had a battery level of 70% or less, the votes were going for the Congress, and EVMs which showed a battery capacity of 99, even though they had been stored for a long time, were going disproportionately to the BJP. Now, all of this has to be examined by the Election Commission, but we are actually going to go and complain. So what our view is that what seems like a strange twist, there may be more to it, and the EC has to investigate.
But I'm not sure how many takers are there, honestly, given the fact that, every time you bring up an EVM, people also argue that, look, there's another state where somebody else has performed well, there you're not raising the issues.
It's like me saying, if someone burgles one room in my house, the answer is not, but they didn't burgle the other room in your house.
Fair enough.
If there are discrepancies to be there, I don't believe in any EVM theories, but if there are discrepancies, they should be examined.
So they have every right to go and complain.
Please, one second, we should.
But when I look at comparatively the scenarios in Haryana and Jammu and Kashmir, I find very similar challenges. Too many independents parked up, so certainly it's a strategy on the other side to divide votes, etc. And those independents, so many of them in the Kashmir Valley, but Kashmir decides to boot out the independents, the smaller parties. Great, if you're in jail, we sympathize with you in the Lok Sabha, but not in this one. This is how we want our government to be. Now, Parivarvad, for which Mr. Hooda is being blamed here, and dominance, etc., same things are there. But the people decide to build a state on a mandate that they think is good for them. In Haryana, however, why is it? What are the scoping conditions within which so many independents do their acts, do their plays, somebody wins by 32, by 208 votes or whatever?
That happens in every state, every election.
Tell us how many seats in Jammu and in Kashmir have been won by 30 votes?
In every state, in every election. That's not
no, so
as long as it's not a fiddled vote, there's a normal distribution, and there'll be extremes which are very small. We'll look at all the data.
I have a different question to ask. I mean, at the end of the day, it does look like the Congress, wherever you mentioned about a bipolar contest, with the BJP being a dominant factor, it's still struggling to basically come to government if it's fighting it alone. Unless it's in alliance with parties and states. In Uttar Pradesh it did well because it was an alliance with the Samajwadi Party. In Maharashtra it's looking stronger again with the Agari. But barring a Himachal Pradesh,
Karnataka,
Rajasthan, no, but we did.
There was a huge swing in favor of Congress in Rajasthan, but generally I agree with you. Where it's an alliance, it does much better.
So,
very true.
Amitabh, do you want to respond to that?
Now, let's go back to why we all got it wrong. I didn't switch this. Look at what the poll said. Let's have a look at the poll of polls. Just a reminder. Since we didn't do any polls, we can really be mean for once. Okay, here, poll polls in Jammu and Kashmir, 43-28. Not bad at all. PDP 8 and others 11, and that's roughly what it was. So it just shows the people of Jammu and Kashmir are more honest than most of the country.
Yeah.
Next, Haryana. And I'm not saying anything derogatory, I'm just saying that Haryana, Congress 55, BJP 26. It was almost reverse and it was like unbelievable. But people also sense this on the ground. Right, Maya? That's amazing. It's not just pollsters, numbers. There was a mood also. How did this happen?
I think that's the question in everybody's mind. How did this happen? Why did this happen?
Yeah.
Why did everyone get it so wrong? Apart from the fact that, as you said, the people of Jammu and Kashmir have answered exit pollsters honestly, and maybe the ones in Haryana decided to, give them a little bit of a runaround. But I think there are serious questions, and actually I want to take this back to Dorab, if I can, for the simple reason, I'm just trying to understand, can this 1%, you're saying there's a rise in the vote share, there's a rise in the BJP's vote share as well. Can it make such a difference at this, in this way?
It can. As I say, you win big and you lose small. So then you don't win the overall, you don't win, because you won by 25,000 votes, the other guy won by 20 votes. So he has fewer votes, but he won that seat by 2 votes anyway.
Yeah.
So you accumulated lots of votes, but not the seats. And
You obviously didn't follow, didn't listen to all the twists and all that, and you're asking the same questions. Chalo, after this I'll...
So the geography,
At the bar.
I think, the numbers you showed also showed us that in Haryana, BJP had, Congress was concentrated
in the
deep
central area.
in the central area, and they are there on the in the northern side and in the south. Now south is the Ahirwal, and this I assume is the GT road area. So the BJP in a sense has been working on the ground to blunt the anti-incumbency, and I think the BJP decided not to go into the central area and say that, look, let me work amongst my people, मुझसे जो नाराज है उनको मैं मनाने का काम करती हूँ. And let me share some nuggets. For example, the Rajasthan chief, erstwhile chief of the BJP, he's been parked in, Satish Punia has been parked for the last 4-5 months. He's a Jat leader, and whenever I would ask, I would get the answer, मैं जाटों को मनाने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ. So now those things, when the narrative in favor of the Congress was so much that we were not trying to listen to these other voices, but I do think that there was a strategy with which the BJP was working, and the Congress's singular failure is not to anticipate what the opposition is doing, consume too much by its own narrative. Did they ask the question that the noise...
Congress, everybody, all journalists felt the same. I just can't, I've never seen this before.
Journalists didn't lose the election, the Congress...
No, but it's just...
I think one of the areas where, all of us...
They should have been more impartial.
Yeah.
No, I think this is not the only election where the overall narrative, the top level narrative was against the BJP, and the BJP won nevertheless.
Yeah.
For example, the Uttarakhand election last time was a similar one, with the BJP facing huge anti-incumbency. They changed 3 chief ministers, and yet they won with quite some margins, right? Right. So the BJP does pull off these surprise victories often, actually.
Yeah.
And I think the one possibility is, as Manisha ji was saying, that while the top level narrative is against them, they have the army of booth workers and leaders from across India, plus the RSS going in, plus a huge social media network going in and sort of messaging people on the ground, messages that may not even come to us on private WhatsApp groups and so on, right? So, but I'll give you a non-BJP example. The West Bengal election last time, a lot of people felt the BJP is winning, right? And if you went around, you would hear a lot of anti-incumbency sentiment against the TMC. And it did also that election as well. The TMC won by managing the anti-incumbency. So you win an election despite anti-incumbency. It may not be pro-incumbency.
I just want to clarify about anti-incumbency. It's in our book. There are 3 phases of incumbency in India.
Right, I read
First 25 years, pro-incumbency. 80-85% of governments were voted back. everybody was in a hopeful mood and they thought their governments would do well. 1977 they said, ain't working. 25, for the next 25 years they threw everybody out. It was an 80% rejection of every government. Since 2002, it's 50-50. So there's no longer pure anti-incumbency. If you deliver in power, you're back. It's a much smarter electorate.
Yeah.
Right.
You then, not the naive, hopeful first 25 years, not the angry next 25 years. This 25 years is a discerning voter. So we shouldn't think everything is anti-incumbency.
But sir, just quickly one more point, which is about the Jat vote. Now, one reason why some journalists could potentially get it wrong is because the Jat is very loud and the OBC goes quiet and is quietly going for vote for BJP. Pollsters, I'm sorry, do not have this excuse.
That's
right. Okay, but journalists do. Right. The other point about
journalists should realize that.
Sure. A good journalist should realize that. Sure, no doubt. I didn't travel.
No, I hate to say this. No, I hate to say it. Many good journalists, really people I respect and admire,
got it wrong this time. Yeah.
Really amazed at that. Have you found one person who said BJP is going to win Haryana? One
person yesterday who did tweet that the results are going to be very surprising. I'm forgetting which organization he is with. He's a local print journalist.
French journalist?
No, print journalist. He's a local print journalist. I just have 2-3 things.
There's still print around?
Yes, mercifully or sadly, but...
mercifully, thank you.
Yes. I do feel, I think the one thing that I personally would have read wrong was I thought that the sentiment of the farmers' protest would be stronger here. GT Road, we were expecting the BJP to lose. You have even a Gurnam Singh Chudani, the farmer leader, actually losing the election. You know, who was a voice, one of the leading voices of the farmers' protest.
The margins for his...
It's been a comfortable margin that he's lost from. So, one, I think, you know, the farmers' anger that played out during the Punjab elections was way more stronger because this farmers' protest has also been politically polarized. It's not as unified as the original farmers' protest that was much more sustained and had an impact.
Worry is, this kind of election result means you can treat the farmers badly, you can treat the women wrestlers badly, you can do ugly heel and you can still win.
I'm glad Ganesh Phogat won. I think that's
why are you getting Ram Rahim free convicts onto us? What a life we have, what a future.
Also, I do think that, you know, the anger of the Dalits was much more stronger again and real. Say for instance in Uttar Pradesh, Haryana during the Lok Sabha elections, when it was a real fear that the constitution will be changed, that narrative that the Congress had spun. By these elections, I think the OBC Dalits sort of went into that Jat, non-Jat consolidation. So with Bhupender Hooda having such a strong stamp, with a lot of the old faces getting tickets in Congress, BJP managed to replace a lot of the old guards and old faces and gave tickets to fresh faces. That did work to its advantage. So I think even that Dalit vote which the Congress was banking on and giving that narrative of Chhattis
We have some data on how sitting MLAs have done versus how new candidates have. We'll bring that up later.
Yeah, that may be a strategy that's been tried by Amit Shah and you know, all the time, and if it has worked, then that's one thing that they try always, you know, change the people and you...
We can show that, but without the total at the bottom, that overall there's something wrong, but we can...
Are we now on the fields of Haryana?
Some of
we moved from Dal Lake to खेतों में चले गए हैं अब
some of
so nice being in the fields, you know, with the...
Some of the analysis that came on Haryana, people also said that the GT road where the BJP is done well is also far more urbanized.
It is.
Yes. So looking at everything from the rural prism, as I do, you know, always, and they said that was not a good way of looking at it because highly urbanized, and they say that, you know, still look at it in the prism of the urban middle class.
But you know, in the Lok Sabha election, there was a plus 20% swing to the Congress in the rural areas, but even in the urban areas there was a plus 17% swing, slightly less than rural, but it was generally the whole state that swung towards the Congress in the Lok Sabha, recent Lok Sabha. But still 3% difference, which is quite a lot in elections.
So I think this result is still being explained by very pop theories that can give us a picture of
the observation about the BJP having a stronger organization and stronger communication is often made, but I don't think it's increasingly less true. As you will remember, during the general election, the Congress substantially drove the narrative. I think CSDS data shows that our social media game was equal, if not slightly better than the BJP's in getting our messaging across. And
That has been a change in
right,
Congress.
exactly. And in Haryana in particular, I don't think that Congress would have had any disadvantage. In
Now-
Jammu, perhaps we would have had a social media
Now you have to
disadvantage.
move on to AI.
Yeah, so I should do my next answer. I should get my points for this show from ChatGPT.
Just send the computer and
Exactly.
In that case, Amitabh, if everything's right, what explains this?
So there's 2-3 things. One is, of course, I said that we believe that there are some irregularities that need to be investigated. The two things that I can think of, one is the bipolarization of Haryana, which we've discussed, that some of the third party vote would have accrued to the BJP. And the other obvious candidate would be, but we don't have data, so I'm just putting it out there, is if this combination, social combination that helped the Congress in the general election didn't pan out in the state election, because the issues were more local, maybe it's more difficult to get Jat and Dalit voters on the same platform locally than it is nationally. I'm just speculating, we have no data about this. So those kinds of factors
researching into
could have been
And the
at
ticket
play.
distribution for candidates. Do
No,
you
I
think
think it
that there
was-
was a lot that should have changed?
So why?
You can always say that in every
We do have
election.
data showing us that the Congress party vote share from Lok Sabha has declined from 44% to 39%.
But that
by
always
5 percentage
happens.
points.
In a state election, there are more independents and third
Yeah,
parties.
that's exactly right, actually.
Sure.
But tell me, what happened to AAP in Haryana?
It was
No, AAP was a non-starter
No,
in
but
Haryana.
I mean,
It was a- when-
why hasn't it grown in Haryana while it's grown in both the neighboring states?
Because one, Haryana is so crowded already.
Yeah.
Where is the space
Crowded.
for where is the space for a Delhi party to
Are
go
you
in
saying
there?
Punjab is not crowded?
Even
A little less so.
I'm a
maybe.
Sardar. Be careful what you say.
No, I mean, AAP entered Punjab at a time when Shiromani Akali Dal was literally getting decimated already. So I think
decline
where
of that.
on the decline already,
And the
where
Congress
you
also
want
didn't
an
follow.
alternate voice, that's where, and with the governance come the soft Hindutva politics, where you're able to move into the Hindi heartland, Hindi speaking states. That's where I think the AAP has better
I think
chances.
on the anti-BJP flank, people really trust the Congress to be taking the lead, and I do think the AAP is not able to generate that. So it is
You know,
middling between.
I'll give you a different perspective in Telangana. The BRS, which championed Telangana, did a lot of good, implementation of projects. Their vote fell 20%, and most of that went to BJP. They didn't see Congress as the main antagonist to the BJP. The BJP gained hugely in Telangana because the BRS dropped.
And regional parties everywhere. I mean, UP
historically-
is Samajwadi Party, is not Congress so much, right? So it's all
Historically,
kind-
Congress was the dominant party, so people would much rather not vote for the Congress.
Yeah.
Those anti-Congress votes, when they break down, say BRS, it goes to not to the Congress, but to the other dominant party. BJP is a very new
AAP
party.
needs a face in Haryana who could be, they need a Huda, or, to basically. I told you, in his defense, the Congress has 39% vote
Yeah,
share, right? I
absolutely,
mean,
absolutely,
the
yeah.
Congress has done well by its sort of past record. It's just that, and they lost by close margins for many seats.
Yeah.
It
It is a very unusual election in votes to seats translation. Amazing,
Yeah.
actually.
So then the researchers will take some respite saying, oh, we saw these percentages on the ground and we didn't
Yeah.
kind of factor in that
Yeah, votes to seats,
0.6%.
yes.
I mean, we were
Actually,
not.
most of them don't put out the votes, that's the problem. If they put out the votes, then you could say, I saw these votes
Yeah.
and I converted them
Normal.
normally, I couldn't believe that, this is the
Yeah.
kind of outcome that would occur. But then 65 to 25 or whatever is not a sensible outcome with the equal number of votes.
But the urban votes do stay intact with the BJP,
somebody
right?
did a
Whether it's
good
Noida in
point
Uttar Pradesh or
Yes.
Gurugram in Millennium City,
Yes.
regardless of
Margins are so
what
high
is
that
going
BJP
wrong.
margins come
Yeah.
down, BJP still wins those seats. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now, since we've solved most of the problems of India, looking ahead, you've got a new strategy for Maharashtra?
No, we have a continuing strategy for
For
Maharashtra that
Haryana.
worked very well in the general election. It's a strong alliance.
But as
And-
somebody says, when you're in an alliance, you do much better.
No, but I mean, if you look at the Lok Sabha numbers, we are the largest member of the alliance. It's not that we are tagging along with a larger local player.
Yeah.
Clearly a very strong part of the alliance.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, it has to be said that the surprise victory of the BJP in Haryana gives the BJP a sort of lifeline where it needed.
Give the cadre a little boost.
Not just the cadre, but even the leadership, even the top leadership, the sense after the Lok Sabha that the BJP is on a linear declining slope.
It was, yeah.
Now, it doesn't look like that.
Well, I was a bit shocked that even in Haryana, the decline in votes continued by 6%, as we saw.
But there's another way.
That twist again.
I think some things have to be about political strategy and narratives. So all this noise about, oh, Mr. Modi shied away from the campaign and people talking about it, I think the one lesson for the Congress should be, go shy in the last hour. Do not talk about things and think about what you're going to do on the day of the election, especially in the last 3, 4, 5 hours of voting. Yes. That's what is important. And on the counting day, the morning trends were clearly showing a 2:1 ratio, 2 in favor of the Congress, 1 to the BJP. So concentrate on the counting as the hours progress. Get deep into the counting process as you did in central Haryana.
That's why we're going to the EC with our complaints, because we're keeping an eye. And even in the Lok Sabha election.
Did you anticipate this is the thing?
I mean, who anticipates these things?
For a sort of a change to have happened, no? I think the voter turnout was lower this time compared to the last time.
No, it's about
it was around the same, yeah. But maybe normally you associate a higher voter turnout for a government change.
One point that both of you are raising, and we learned it from America, swing in votes by doing various things affects the elections, of course, but now what's affecting election more is handling turnout, manipulating turnout, making sure that people, there's a young researcher I know is doing a PhD and did research on voter turnout, and in Muslim seats it took 2.5 hours to vote, in non-Muslim seats 10 minutes. And Muslim seats, a lot of the machines weren't working, we got to repair it, you have to wait. So there's a lot of how do you handle turnout now. And in America, of course, they make sure that many people are disenfranchised if they're not Republican.
In UP, we saw firsthand a lot of Muslim families lost out on their votes because of slow votes or some issue or the other. But I do want a reaction because Hartosh Bal tweeted something very interesting earlier today, where he suggested that, essentially bringing in Saini for Khattar worked, and this essentially also paves the way for a Yogi's exit and the BJP looking for an EBC face to replace him.
That has been
the larger implication.
I don't know whether it's true or not, but whenever
coming up in UP too, so
11 of them.
The victory does tell you that changing the CM worked for two reasons. One is they got rid of unpopular Khattar, but also they put in place an OBC CM, which is why I'm saying, I know I don't have data, but it looks more and more like a OBC consolidation against the loud Jat noise after Lok Sabha. It looked like the Jat thought they were back in power. And the OBCs quietly consolidated with the BJP state there.
So what do you see as the ramification in Uttar Pradesh?
I don't really, I don't think this consolidation takes place in an organized manner. Just over a period of time. You find, for 35, 40 years you had Jat chief ministers, except for one exception, 1997 to 2014. So, the others now got used to the others. They perhaps feel they want a non-Jat chief minister. They don't want a Jat administration. There was a time when the same thing used to apply to SP and BSP. That if the SP guys come, they'll beat us all up. All the police constables were SP. All this. So these things get fixed in people's minds, and then they affect voting behavior.
Also, to that extent, it'll take a lot more for the Congress to win over some OBCs than just promising a caste census.
Okay, we're coming to the end of the hour. Can I get a quick summary from each one of you? Quick meaning not
2 seconds,
not 25 minutes each.
2 seconds.
2 seconds. Even I can do that. Why don't you start? A summary of what you've kind of observed today.
Clearly a lot for exit pollsters to learn, and for us to learn and introspect. I eat humble pie. I got the Haryana ground mood wrong. Maybe I should stick to my foreign policy predictions and cover politics as it is without giving an opinion on who's winning or who's losing, which is constantly asked of journalists on the ground. But I do think that there may have been a certain level of overconfidence within the Congress, or especially when it came to the party ticket distribution. Having said that, I do think the issues that we saw on the ground, they still remain. Whether it's unemployment, whether it's unemployment, whether it's Agnipak, that anger still remains, and that's something that the BJP government will still have to deal with.
Okay.
So obviously a very good outcome in Jammu and Kashmir. We should have a stable government and a decisive vote for democracy and a reversal of the move away from representation of the last 5 to 10 years.
Okay.
Disappointing election in Haryana for us, but obviously we did well in vote share terms, but the seats conversion was disappointing and we believe problematic and deserving of greater inquiry by the Election Commission.
Okay.
But by the way, if there's something wrong with the EVMs, even your vote percentage would be wrong. So it's not the conversion.
No, it's on the marginal seats. Yeah. So in our theory, maybe our vote percentage will be even higher.
I hate to say this, EVMs have been the excuse for 25 years and they've done damn well.
So this time we have gone with documentation. The EC has to decide.
Fine, yeah.
And they're talking about a battery level. So I'm just like, it's very specific this time. 70% versus 99%, right?
Below 70 and
Below
99.
70 and above 99. I mean, and 99, right?
Isn't there a rule that if very tight votes have to be recounted automatically? The votes between...
Tight votes, he's saying the battery.
No, I understand that, but I'm saying they also tight seats and they may have to recount it.
Live this one down.
No, in the interest of fairness, the EC must investigate any issue that the political party brings to it.
So I think a very comfortable day or the evening for Mr. Modi and Mr. Shah. The duo have been able to conduct an election in Jammu and Kashmir that is not to their partisan preference.
And lose it.
Yes, but indeed the world will look at it as a free and fair election having been conducted by Mr. Modi and Mr. Shah in Haryana, of course. Yes, in Haryana, of course, it's a victory that they will cherish because it's a victory that comes largely with their own men having been there. Remember, Mr. Dharmender Pradhan, who I believe very much has sacrificed the chair of Chief Ministership in Odisha, remains a trusted man for Prime Minister Modi and Mr. Amit Shah, having led this election to victory. There will be discussions around it as they should be in a democracy, but at the moment they will take succor at what they've delivered.
I agree with you that Haryana has been a wonderful message for Mr. Modi and the whole BJP. The loss in Jammu and Kashmir, doesn't it make, in Kashmir, I mean the state, doesn't it make you question whether 370 was a blunder what they did and put army on the streets and then they lose the election?
I believe very much that just like the Ram Mandir, 370 has been a non-starter, but it was a thing on their agenda, and as I have seen this government, if something is on their agenda,
they do it.
They just do it.
Also,
so that's my understanding.
Kashmir has never seen the
It
lotus
was
bloom
just done.
anyway. They didn't have much to lose.
done.
It was a given that they wouldn't be winning in Kashmir.
No, but
as long as they consolidated
but
their
the
seats in Jammu.
370
this was
looks like
fine.
a mistake now. Anyway, right.
Given
I
that
like to
nothing.
see the positives and the negatives for both sides.
Yeah.
I think it's a great day for democracy. The wisdom of the masses makes everybody bow before them. Politicians, pundits, pollsters, everybody, like the Lok Sabha, exit polls are wrong in Haryana, which is great. When exit polls are wrong, the day becomes more interesting. I think you should appreciate that.
Humbling.
In Jammu and Kashmir,
That's the bread and butter here.
the BJP tried everything in J&K to bring about at least a hung verdict, and it did not happen. So the wisdom of the masses, the people are supreme, and nobody, the best of pundits, posters, everybody gets it wrong. That's great.
Dora.
I think both the elections were a surprise. The extent of the NC Congress victory in Jammu and the loss of the Congress. This is a surprise election, everywhere a surprise.
I just have one happy takeaway that Vinesh Phogat won
Yes.
and Lal Singh, the Kathua strongman, was defeated. I think those were two important seats that I was looking at, and these results were important. And without a doubt, the BJP is a hungry machine when it comes to elections. Nobody knows how to fight
just
elections.
one small last question. Who's winning in Maharashtra and Jharkhand?
As I said, I'm going to now talk about what's happening in West Asia and not predicting.
Jharkhand Congress Party again.
You're going to
Lot of narrative, doesn't have the people on the ground. So I'm very wary of saying, oh, it's all on the other side. Every election is an election, and the BJP doesn't take things lying down. That's how I
They
look
could
at
pull
it.
in Odisha, you never know what they'll pull next.
And
We just have to call up some journalists, and whatever they say, the opposite would be happening.
Or parachute drop and talk to the taxi driver.
no, Are there going to be any exit polls in Jharkhand and
That you better
Maharashtra?
ask your friends who do the exit polls.
Mr. Jashwant Deshmukh.
Okay, last. Harris or Trump?
Oh.
Harris, any day.
It could be a
Not really
2016 repeat with the popular votes going one way and the electoral college going another.
Yeah.
Depends on the Israel, Iran, Palestine situation. So right now favoring Trump, I would say.
A few white old men in 6 swing states will elect Trump.
Yeah. As I said, it's still the 2016. What happened with Hillary? That seems the likelihood right now.
Now you are to close and put us all at a higher level of intellectual analysis,
By
please.
saying that the electoral college will decide who's winning in Maharashtra and Jharkhand as well.
Hold on.
Let's mix it all up.
The Indian pollsters predicted the US
Okay.
elections.
All right, thanks
I
a
think
lot.
on that
Thank you
note-
so much for joining us on Decoder. I think it's been a wonderful day for people like us to look at what happens in elections, and every election is as exciting and as challenging as the next. All the best to the Congress party and the BJP and anybody else who's fighting the Maharashtra and Jharkhand elections going forward, and let us know what happens with the Election Commission on 70% and 99%. Yeah.
Will do.
All right.
Thank you all for
Amitabh.
being
Thank
with
you
us,
all.
and thank you for watching. Bye-bye.
All right.
Election analysis has never been easier. AI-driven insights, real-time updates, and interactive tools. Everything you need to decode the results. Visit decoder.com today. With Decoder's AI tools, you don't need to just watch the results. You can predict them. Try our opinion slider for a range of voices, or use Make Your Own Forecast to predict the outcome and see how your insights stack up against reality. Or if you're just a data junkie, Decoder is the place for you. With its data hub of every Lok Sabha plus Assembly election result since 1952. Track every constituency, forecast results, and explore the data that matters only on Decoder.